Back on MorningLine. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday, talking about the international conflict right now with North Korea. What's going to happen next? Thomas Schwartz is with us, professor at Vanderbilt. Appreciate you coming on. Always fun talking to you, my friend. It's great. Let's go to Grady. Grady, good morning.
Good morning, Nick, Professor Schwartz. You know, I've got a friend that goes to China. He's a tool and die man. He's helping them set up, you know, what they're manufacturing. You know, we've got enough influence with China that we'll be able to get them to go up to Korea. And, you know, who's to say that China's not using North Korea to test the missiles that they might use one day? And, you know, if this country sent old men instead of young men to fight our wars, we probably never would have another one. You know, last time we was in Korea, it was a conflict. You know, we didn't call it a war. I ain't gonna listen to y'all's comments this morning.
Yeah, we always send the young into combat, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, and I mean, the one comment I'd make is that I don't think China's necessarily using North Korea to testing, because they have, I mean, China has a space capability. They've actually been testing and developing missiles and rockets to the point where they may actually do a moon launch at some point. So they're not needy. They don't need that. Their real problem is that they don't want the instability to spread from the North Korean peninsula into their own country. They don't want the disorder that would come from it, and that they prefer the status quo. The problem is that the North Korean regime seems to want to disturb that status quo through continuing testing.
You know, a lot of us, when we comment and think about Kim Jong-un and the way he looks and the way he behaves, we refer to him as a lunatic, an idiot, a crazy man, and all that. And I think that is underestimating him, okay? And I've heard some other experts talking about this. I mean, in my opinion, if he was completely unstable and just out to lunch, he wouldn't have been in power for 6 years. He would have been taken out by one of his brothers or uncles or something like that. I think, yes, while he definitely is an egomaniac and has some real issues, I don't think he's crazy. I think he has a plan, and I think it's what you said earlier when it comes to nuclear weapons. It gives him legitimacy and security. And there's a method to it. Now, I also don't think his plan is, I want to launch these things, because I think he's smart enough to know his country would be left as an ash. I think he wants to get that and use that to get some other things he wants.
Yeah. No, and
that's my take. I'm hoping, because the scary thing is a lunatic who's just thinking, oh, it's fun, I'm going to punch the button and just send it for the heck of it. I don't think he's like that. No. I don't think he's like that.
The problem is that I think as evil or as rational as he is, the problem is that he may just push too far. And that's the thing is that he may want, by acquiring an ability to strike the United States mainland, which he seems to be determined to do, he's in effect sort of doing something that happened during the Cold War, when it raises the question of whether then, if the North Korean regime were to do something towards South Korea, would we then do something in response to protect our South Korean allies, knowing that we might lose one of our cities? And this was something that went on in the Cold War, was the idea, would the United States actually defend Western Europe against the Russians if they came in, if it meant we were going to lose Chicago or New York? And the idea was to weaken the ties between the United States and Europe by creating doubt about whether we would defend them. And I think in a way he's trying to do that too. He's trying to create doubt and create the sense that North Korea is the power in the region. After all, Japan is not a nuclear power. So North Korea's power in nuclear weapons gives it a weapon against Japan as well as South Korea. And in that sense, it creates a very, very powerful situation for dominance, in which indeed they might ask for more after they've acquired that capability and built up their nuclear arsenal.
Okay, and that makes sense. Now, is it, you think, their goal just to maintain their status quo, though, make sure they have security, or do they have some kind of manifest destiny where they want to spread beyond? Does North Korea want to invade and take over South Korea? Does it want to take out Japan and grow its dynasty? I mean, in his wildest dreams, he'd like that, but is that really their goal right now, or is it more, we just want to stay stable within our borders?
It is survival, but it is a regime that's unpredictable in that, because of course it sees threats everywhere. So a regime like that could see that there is, in a way, South Korea poses an existential threat to North Korea by its mere existence. The fact that a prosperous Korea that's democratic exists south of the border is a constant commentary to the North about the political system. And in a way, taking out South Korea eventually could be something that that the North Koreans aim for. They have always aimed for the unification of the peninsula. They want to do it on their terms. Having nuclear weapons, being able to threaten, certainly gives them that capacity.
The populace, I don't know, what would you may not know this, the population of North Korea be? I mean, I know they have their leadership structure,
right,
and then all the millions of people that are probably starving. Now, I don't care how hard he wants to lock things down. In this day and age, with computers, social media, iPhones, things smuggled in, the people there have to have, some of them, an idea of what it's like across the border in South Korea.
Yes, they do.
And when they see it, it's night and day. It's like going from a third world, impoverished, awful country to seeing paradise, I would think. I mean, do they not see this and realize the rest of the world? Is there not a body of resistance potentially in North Korea among the people, or are they just so crushed they have no means of trying to find overtaking the government?
I think the latter is closer to the truth than the former, although we don't really know. I mean, we do know that there are defectors. The defectors come and tell us something. Usually they defect by going across the border to China and then trying to make their way eventually to South Korea. And what they tell us is, of course, that there's not really any organized resistance. There's not a civil society that exists, say, that developed in Eastern Europe in resistance to communism. Nothing like that seems to exist.
So any hint of resistance, he just goes and kills everyone.
Well, yes, and I mean, what happens is not only do you suffer directly, but your family. I mean, that's one of the horrifying aspects of the North Korean regime, is that when people are punished, their entire family could be sent to the gulag as well as their own.
Okay, and we already know he's willing to kill his own family members.
Yes, he's willing to do his own family in. So, I mean, in some ways, repression is effective, can be effective, as long as he continues to deliver the goods to the people who are protecting him, the army and the elite in Pyongyang. He's been able to get away with this.
Another question you hear sometime is, okay, why can't we just take out the head of state there? And we know much different, of course. We took out Osama bin Laden with SEAL Team 6 and that amazing operation that did that, and other leaders, Muammar Gaddafi, and of course the stuff all in the Arab Spring, of a lot of the leadership change there. But I'm thinking that is a very different situation in the Middle East than it is in North Korea in terms of having any assets on the ground in North Korea. We just have nothing. We don't have it.
The possibility of some sort of decapitating strike against the leadership of North Korea has been aired. There was a controversy in South Korea when some intelligence report indicated that there was consideration about that plan. The problem is we lack a lot of the good intelligence that will allow us to do that. I think what the comparison might be that at the beginning of the Iraq War, we tried to take out Saddam Hussein with a bombing raid on his headquarters. We missed him totally, and there we had a lot more intelligence and everything, but we still didn't get him, and didn't get him until almost 6 months after the invasion. North Korea is a black box. It is very hard to see within it, and we don't seem to have the intelligence that we would like if we wanted to do anything like that.
And Kim Jong-un, has he left? He stays there now.
He has not traveled.
Has he never left the country?
To the best of my knowledge, he has not yet. For example, there's one very telling thing, is he's not visited China. That was the place most North Korean leaders left and visited.
I guess I should Google this, because I'm interested in it. Does he have much of an education background? I mean,
well, he was educated in the West. He was educated in Switzerland. That's what we know about him. We know that he had some Western education. We know very, very little otherwise. I would imagine Dennis Rodman and others have been briefed because they've actually met the leader.
I mean, think about that, Dennis Rodman. Well, we got to go to a break, but we should talk. It is just surreal too. I mean, folks, Americans. Dennis Rodman has access to the leader of North Korea and has been there more than a couple of times. And I have no doubt he's been debriefed, but I mean, he's there promoting NBA basketball over there. So, which tells you Kim Jong-un has some tastes in movies and sports and things like that. That maybe is there a common ground? I don't know. I'm no diplomat. Let's take a break. We'll be back with more calls, more of our conversation on this in our final segment. What is that?